Welcome back to the Healing on Purpose Everyday podcast. This is your Hope Coach, Destiny Sprague, and I'm so excited to be back with you. Today we are doing another segment on what I wish someone would have told me early on in my healing journey, and I believe we are on segment 8, which is so cool. 8 stands for New Beginnings. And so I find it not coincidental. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. It's no coincidence that we're talking about what we're talking about today, with this being the 8th episode, and we are talking about new beginnings. It is only right that it's only fair to say that this is from the Father. And I think you will agree with me once you know what we're talking about today. So before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to be notified so that you don't miss out on any Healing on Purpose Everyday podcast episodes or, videos that we may be creating. Any content that we're creating under SacredCareServices is to help you take care of you, to care for you during your healing journey. That's right. The wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding that's being shared is coming straight from heaven. And it is to minister to you and to help you find the truth that your wounds need to be exposed to in order to heal. And not only that, the love that can nourish you back to good health and help you take action on what it is that you actually want to achieve in your life, right? Because we all have desires, we have goals, and we want to make sure that they're aligned with God's plan, stated in Jeremiah 29:11. I want to remind you that God is not against you, but He is for you. And as His word says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and give you hope and a future." And I believe that for you. And so what we're talking about is a message full of hope today. So make sure you like it. Let us know how this has blessed you, if it stands out to you, how did it stand out to you? What spoke to you? What revelation does this go with in your life right now? We want to know about it. Also, let us know how we can pray for you, because we want to keep you in our prayers. The Word of God says, where 2 or more gather in His name, there He shall be. So there's an agreement that comes with, meeting with other people and allowing them to pray for you and allowing them to care for you. And we just want to make sure that you're receiving that care. So you don't have to plug into everything that we're doing. Maybe that's a little too much for you right now. But definitely plug in and allow us to pray for you and care for you in that way at least. Allow us to reach you through these videos by listening and just opening up your ears and praying about what you're hearing, okay? So that you can actually partake in the word well. When it comes to trauma, sometimes it's hard to receive care. It's hard to receive love. It's hard to accept it. Sometimes it's even hard to see it as love or accept it as love. So always go to the Lord. Ask Him, how is He speaking to you through this? If you know how He's speaking to you, share that with someone that can congratulate you and uplift you and celebrate with you. Because the Word of God says, when people are weeping, weep with them. And when they're rejoicing, rejoice with them. And we want to have the opportunity to not only weep with you, but to rejoice with you because we love you. So today, our topic is don't carry the wrong cross. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this today because it's something that I spent years doing unintentionally. I had no idea that I was doing it. I had no idea how big of an effect it was having on my life, on my relationships, with how I created things, how I interpreted things, what I gave permission to, like why my body was going through trauma withdrawals in the first place. Which that's a whole nother episode of what it looks like when you're carrying the wrong cross and you're going through the withdrawal. Because there's a part of you that wants to accept God's will and thinks that you're accepting God's will, but you have no idea that you're not. And so that can also tie into things is that we want to make sure that we're giving our complete all to God. We cannot give half of ourselves. And this is the mindset that has to develop, is that I can't give only one area of my life to God, but I need to give all areas of my life to God. Every idol, every pain, every suffering, every joy, everything needs to bow down at the feet of the Lord. And so this is why we're talking about today, not carrying the wrong cross. So I want to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind today. Do you feel stuck, like you can't move or have a little desire to move? Is there a lack of support in your life? And maybe is it starting to get to you? Because it's very possible that it can. Maybe it feels like you're the only one who cares, and a part of you wishes that you didn't. If you've ever felt that way, like you didn't have a lot of support and you were almost like ready to like just have a mental breakdown, maybe you felt like you couldn't move, and this, like, there's two parts to this. Maybe you felt like you couldn't move, but you wanted to, and maybe you felt like you couldn't move, but you had no desire to move. And, basically everything I'm talking about is there a stronghold over your life? Because when I think about being stuck, when I think about having little desire, lack of support, a lack of healthy people who care, and if I'm the only one caring and I'm not getting any ministering back, it makes you wonder if this isn't a stronghold, right? And it's 99% chance that this is a stronghold, and we're going to talk about why that is. Because caring can be a heavy burden. Yes, being someone who cares can be a very heavy burden, but it can also be a light one. So anyone that has been on this journey with me for a while knows that I am someone that authentically cares about human beings. I care about people. If I see a problem, I also see a solution. And it's not one of those fix it quickly solutions. It's something that's going to take time, but I've learned patience along the way, caring for people this way. I've learned kindness. I've learned gentleness. I've learned self-control, that maybe there's a time and place for everything. There's some things that don't need to be said all in one day, and that's okay. I've learned all these things because I've learned what love is. And it's taken time to love people through caring for them. Caring, and this is how I want to put it. This is how I feel led to put it, that it took me time to learn how to care with people with love, right? Because I didn't feel like I was loved. A part of me also didn't feel like I was worthy of accepting it. And I didn't realize that for a long time. But a part of me didn't feel worthy of it. Part of me didn't feel like anyone cared. No one was reaching out to me the way I was reaching out to people. No one was checking on me the way that I was checking on people. No one was sticking beside me like I would stick beside people. And there was just a different level of care that honestly didn't need to be compared. But sometimes it's good to compare things so that you can see, is this really God? Or is this the devil? So, Matthew 11:28-30 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So Matthew 11:28-30, it talks about the power of care and how caring for the right thing will be easy, and it will be supportive. So it's going to generate back what you give. It's going to generate back what you have sacrificed. It's going to generate back something better than that. That's what true care looks like, is that it's not going to give you back what you gave, but it's going to give you back better. And if you're wanting to see a better result in your life, then you're going to want to keep listening. If you're going to want to heal, then you're going to want to keep listening. If you're wanting to see some things break in your life so that some things could be found in your life, then you're going to want to keep listening. If you are tired of carrying things that are not meant for you, they don't serve your purpose, and you're going to want to keep listening. Okay? So the key here to this verse, it represents how caring for someone can be a burden that is light. So this is Jesus, right? Yeshua speaking here, where he says, "Come to me," and he's talking about how he's going to care for you. He talks about what you're feeling even at this moment, because he says you're weary and you're burdened, and I will give you rest. So right here, he's identifying your emotional exhaustion. He is identifying your mental battle. He is identifying your spiritual warfare. And he's letting you know that I can care for you. Not only that, he says, I've got something really good for you that I want to share for you, basically. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me. Have a relationship with me. Have a relationship. Put energy into your relationship with me. For this is who I am. I am gentle. I am humble at heart. And in return, you'll find rest for your souls. And you will basically no longer carry a burden that's heavy, but you will carry a yoke that is easy, and my burden is light, meaning that it's something you can carry. The Father is never going to set you up for failure, where he's going to have you carry something that's too heavy for you. That's how much he loves you. Okay? Now, he might apply pressure, but this pressure is not going to be something that's too much for you. Because if it was too much, then it's going to harm you. And so often we feel like, oh, it's too much. But just know that if you're going through it, you're going to get through it too. That means that you have the keys to get through it. That means that you will have the strength to get through it. Because God doesn't stop until things are good. He doesn't stop working until things are good. That's how you know he's finished. Okay. So the key here is what you are caring about should be able to support you. So whatever you're caring for, it should be able to support you. If what you're caring about doesn't support you, then you may be caring about the wrong thing, or you may be caring in the wrong way. So there's a two-part to that. You could be caring for the wrong person, place, or thing, or you could be caring for the wrong person, place, or thing the wrong way. So let's explore the wrong way of caring, and what it leads us to carrying is the wrong cross. So Romans 12:2 says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So I wanted to stop and remind you today that sometimes it's like, I've done so much for this person, and I've laid down my life for these children, and we find ourselves reminiscent of what we have done for other people. It's almost like we started to keep record of what we've done versus what they've done, and why we are not seeing the same energy. And some of the stuff is because we are caring about the wrong things. Some people don't want to change. And I know sometimes that's hard to hear, but you can't force anyone to change. And some people do need distance and time so that they can find God. And then there's other people that just don't want to change, and you do not hold that authority to force anyone to change, but you can pray for them. And so whether they've done harm to you or they've done good, it's good to know that we do not overcome evil by being evil, but we overcome evil by being good. We overcome evil with good. See, good will always conquer evil, and that's something that really, really uplifted me and encouraged me, because as being someone that is constantly caring for others, and so much spiritual warfare that comes at me, it can be easy to get wrapped up in emotions that think that evil is going to conquer the good. And it's so subconsciously that we don't realize that we think this way sometimes, is that all this evil in this world, we feel like, compared to us, there's not much that we can do about it. And so some people go out and they try to get justice themselves, and they try to take things into their own matter, and they try to force someone to love them that's not capable of it. And they stay in toxic relationships, and they're toxic to themselves, and they're thinking that they can overcome this with something they may think that it's good, but it's not. Stretching yourself for the wrong thing is evil. Caring about the wrong thing is evil. And we have to learn what we're caring for, like to really know, what are we caring for? Because if you don't know what you're caring for, then you're not going to know how to care for it. And so I want to ask you that today. What are you caring for? What do you care about? And how are you caring for it? Are you caring for it with good? Or are you caring with it with evil? And you'll know, because if you don't have any peace, if you don't have any joy, if you don't have any patience, if you don't have any self-control, if you don't have any gentleness, think about the fruits of the Spirit and love and faith and hope. If you don't have any of these things, and you're not caring for it the right way, and you're not in the presence of God, but you're in the presence of the enemy, and he will use trauma to be an idol. And we will talk about that here shortly. So what does this have to do with caring? What does this have to do with caring and carrying the wrong thing? So, it's like, yeah, I care. So I'm carrying this thing. And what does it mean to do that? What does it mean to care and carry the wrong way? The key here is we only carry what we care about. If you care about the evil, you will carry the evil. If you care about the good, then you will carry the good. And this is how the right care helps us overcome. So if you're not overcoming, the chances are that you don't have the right care. And maybe you're not able to see it. Maybe there's not good intentions. Maybe there's things being done hidden in the dark away from you. Maybe you're not aware of the tools that you're using aren't for you, but they're against you. Maybe you don't have the right heart posture, and there's some things that needs to be removed and ministered to, so that you can choose to fully care for yourself with that good. We have been created to carry good, and I want to be very clear about that. What God has called us to carry are good things. It is easy to carry something that resembles good, but isn't good. So what does it mean to resemble something? It means that the appearance looks the same. And we know that the devil is a copycatter of the Lord. He wants to copy him and make it look good. But when you start to slice through some things, you find out real quick that things are rotten and that they are indeed not good. So again, I will say it's easy to carry something that resembles good, but isn't good. And this is exactly why God searches our hearts, as we talked about in the last episode, because sometimes we're carrying things that we think that are good, that he's trying to get us to see that, hey, that's just resembling good, but it's not good. You're going to have to fully look deeper than at the surface. And guys, let's be honest. Sometimes we're so quick to look at things and just judge it so quickly. Oh, it looks good, must be good. We don't even take the time to cut it open and see, is this really good? We don't even take the time to smell it. Like, at this point, we're not even using all of our senses. We're just using our eyes. And the eyes can be deceiving. What you see can be very, very deceiving. But this is how the enemy works, is that this is the number one reason why people don't walk out in their faith completely, because they think they have to see something in order to do something. And we also have to remember how faith operates. Faith operates by hearing. God wants us to take the time to not necessarily look at everything, but to make sure that we're hearing his word and we're absorbing his word through our ears, because there is power in what you hear. And what most people don't realize is that hearing can create more good in your life than anything that you could possibly see. And so God, yes, he uses whatever way that he wants to speak to us. He may use visions. He may use words. But one thing that he has stated over and over again is that faith comes by hearing, and that Faith without works is dead. And so God really wants us to hear this message today. So the cross represents redemption. And redemption is the action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. The key here that you can write down is what you're carrying is what you're caring for. See, we don't carry something that we don't care about. And I think that's being real and authentic with ourselves. And we wonder why we're going through certain things that we're going through, where the chances are is that these things are happening because we do care about them. And the enemy knows. He knows that we care about them. He doesn't attack the areas that we don't care about. But the thing is that a lot of times we don't take the time out to be truthful with ourselves that we really do care about these things. And maybe we're not carrying the right way for them. And that's why we are carrying things that are too heavy instead of things that are light and yoke and easy, like the Messiah talked about. Now in Luke 9:23, Yeshua looks at his disciples and he tells them, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." Yeshua also went on, when he was talking to the disciples in the beginning, to tell them even to pack lightly. He told them to pack lightly, to not try to carry everything. And sometimes, when I think about trauma, trying to carry trauma as your cross is carrying way too much. Way too much. That is not a form of packing lightly. But if we go back to what redemption is, of freedom is pretty light. Now, does it require sacrifice to be in freedom? Yes, but walking in freedom is pretty light. And so God wants us to know that today, that we need to take up our cross, the true cross that he's called us to carry, not the cross that we want to carry, but the cross that he wants us to carry, and follow him. To follow him. The trauma responses aren't following God. They're not. Trauma doesn't want to follow God. Trauma wants to follow things that lead to more pain, more suffering. It's the absolutely opposite of redemption. It is a stronghold. There's no plan to be saved from it. That's not what trauma wants to do in your life. So God gave me a vision of people carrying a cross, and the cross represented trauma. And the people were sacrificing themselves to trauma in the vision because of their pain and that they were feeling. They wanted to escape it. So because they wanted to escape their pain, and maybe you've been here before, I know I definitely have, where trauma was the cross that I was carrying, and I was almost willing to sacrifice myself to the trauma. I was giving my ears to my trauma. I was giving my thoughts to my trauma. My trauma was consuming me. It was in all of my relationships. It was affecting everything, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And it was because it was something I was carrying as my cross instead of carrying the cross of redemption. And if we're not too careful, this becomes an idol, because again, in the vision, people were sacrificing themselves. They were giving up. They were laying down their lives to something that was false, and they weren't finding their lives again. And it grieved me seeing this vision, that people were kneeling down and they weren't rising up. And that's not how it's supposed to be. The Father's plan was never to have us lose our lives and not find him. And that's why Jesus is speaking here, and he's telling them that for whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. So it's not just saying here one part, if you lose your life, then you'll find it. But whoever loses their life for Jesus, right, for God, will find it. This is the way. This is only the way. There's no other way outside of this. So I want you to know here today that trauma grows when you care for it. Yes, trauma grows when you care for it. Trauma is the wrong cross to carry. For trauma can support you. It can't support you. It cannot love you back. It is too heavy and it does not serve your purpose. It's not what you're supposed to be carrying. You cannot carry trauma and care for yourself with trauma. You must care for your trauma with redemption. Okay? So it's not that I'm not supposed to be caring for it at all. It's that it grows when I care for it using the very thing that created it. See, trauma cares in a way that will destroy you and will be a lack of good purpose. The motives behind trauma lead to self-destruction. It leads to settling. It leads to giving up. It leads to hopelessness. Okay? And this is why people will feel this way. And this is why I felt this way before. Is because I was allowing trauma to care for me. I was allowing trauma to protect me. I was allowing trauma to keep me in surviving. And some people think that that's good, but it's not. Yes, we've been, I thank the Father that we have a system that allows us to survive. But there comes a time where we have to get out of survival. Otherwise, we will not make it. So in the vision, trauma was an idol that people were giving their lives for. And because of this, they lost their life, but they never found their life. God has not called us to literally care for the trauma with trauma, but He has called us to care for trauma using what He has created. He wants us to use what He has created to care for our being and creation. Okay? Because when you are someone that's going through trauma, you even care for creation. You steward creation this way, and you steward it based upon what you care about. And that's why caring about the wrong thing attracts the wrong thing. It projects the wrong thing, and it allows what you have projected to come back to you, and it's not good. And then we wonder why we keep meeting these people and we keep getting into these situations and things. This is why. So good will always conquer evil. And this is why we must shift. Our mindsets must shift, and our heart posture must shift. I want you to know that God is wanting to speak to you about the idols in your life, specifically the idol of trauma. And He's saying, do not care for any other idols or carry things for them. It will make things much harder for you. God has said, do not carry. He said, do not care for any other idol or carry things for them. So there's idols that will have you carry things for them. And that's so that they can do some type of work or movement in your life that will, the mindset believes that this thing can get you what you need to be fulfilled. And we know that if it's not our creator, then it's something that is evil and it's false and it's not for you, but it's against you. And this is why God has just told me to share this message today. So if this has blessed you, make sure you hit the bell to be notified for more episodes and videos that are going to help you care for your healing. And make sure you share this video with someone, this podcast with someone. Share it with someone that you love. Encourage the people around you. Invite them into the sacred spaces that you're dwelling in. Do not keep this stuff for yourself, because there is a population over billions and billions of people that have been through trauma, that do not know who they are, that do not know how to walk in their purpose. They don't understand trauma. They don't know what's going on with it. They don't know how to reach for their destiny. There is so much work to be done in this field. And God wants His people to have an awareness, to know what they're dealing with, how to deal with it, what to wrestle against, how to wrestle against it. And this is why the tools are being provided here. It's not just for me, but for all of us. And we know we are stronger together than alone. So make sure that you're sharing the good word. It's not good to keep a good thing from someone you love. So share that I hope this has encouraged you. As always, this is your Hope Coach. Until next time, remain putting your hope in God and have a blessed day.